What could be worse than spending weeks building and installing a project only to find out later that there was a major problem? My father always said, if it's built by a man, it can be fixed by a man. So stick around and I will show you how I screwed up and how I fixed it. I'll also show you some tricks in making the inside of a box bigger without changing the outside.
Our house was built in 2000. We bought it in 2015, and it was a pretty nice house. It was a one-story house. It had a fireplace that was nice, but it was pretty basic. Just a running bond brick. I mean, there was no anything fancy on it. So we decided we wanted to add a little style to it. So after we bought the house, we did notice that there was some issues with the drywall on the one side of the fireplace that, the way it was built, the drywall comes in behind the brick facing in the fireplace. And that was, causing a problem. And I just thought that it was moisture coming in from wherever. I don't know exactly what I was thinking. But anyway, I wasn't sure how to fix it. I had put some spray foam in there, and that really didn't do anything to change that. But that was a good warning of what the problems were, but I kind of ignored it and went on. I decided I was going to build a fireplace around, just build around the whole thing, because we didn't really need a big brick wall in the living room, so we wanted to add a little style to it. So I built a cherry surround with a mantle. I added lights up on the top of it, and then on each edge of the mantle I added outlets so that you can put your we could put our decorations up and it would look real nice. But I installed that in 2021, and around 2022, about a year later, we started noticing that one side, the cherry wood, was starting to cup a little bit. And when I looked further, there was actually condensation in the one outlet box. So I knew I had a problem. Wasn't exactly sure what to do with it, but I knew I needed to get that down off the fireplace and see what's the problem. So I dismantled the whole thing. Pretty depressing, taking down something that you think is really nice looking, was really well made. Very proud of it, but I had a problem, so I had to take it down. So got it all taken down, called a mason in to take a look at the fireplace, see what he thought the problem was, any solutions he might have. They always say you need to watch listening to professionals. So what I did was, I did a lot of research, and I tried to learn more about him, or not about the chimney. And what I kind of found was, there are two kinds of learning. There's learning when you don't know something and you're learning something new. And then there's learning of things that you probably really already knew, but kind of ignored or didn't think about. And I had a lot of the second part. I mean, there was things about what I had done that just seemed obvious. Why did I not think of this? But what I did was I looked at a lot of different sites about things, how they build things, and then it dawned on me. One, brick is damp. There's a lot of moisture in masonry, and again, had to do something with that. But the second one was osmosis. If something is damp and it's sitting next to something that is dry, the moisture from the damp side is going to migrate over to the dry side. What I had done is I put the cherry wood, right up against the brick. So obviously, it was soaking in the moisture from the brick, and I had to do something with that. So I couldn't figure out what to do, because I didn't want to rebuild the whole thing. And, I could move it forward without a problem. That, because it just would move a little bit forward, I could get some space in there. But on the side, it was built right into the side of the chimney. So I needed to do something with that. So how do you make a box bigger on the inside without making the outside any bigger? And that was a solution. I will show you that in a little bit. But first, what we'll do is we'll talk about the fireplace's surround and how what I did to originally build it.
So here's what we started out with. We did add the fireplace doors, but the mantle's original. Wasn't crazy about it, not bad, but just didn't like it. You can see right here, there's some calcification showing up on the brick. So that was really, should have been a good indicator of what we had as a problem. So this is what the fireplace looked like. As you can see, it's pretty plain, not anything spectacular, not bad. And we just wanted to dress it up. So here we started with putting the tile around the fireplace, and you can see we added the doors back on it, and you can see there's some handmade tiles that we had bought, and that's why we wanted the tile around the middle. You can see also the pilasters on the bottom half, and you can see how close it is to the brick, which is the big mistake. Now here is where I've added the mantle. It kind of wraps around. There is an outlet on each end of that. And then here's the upper half. It's veneered plywood, cherry veneer, and the stiles and rails around it. There is a picture frame molding at the very top, so we don't have to put any marks into them. But we are still missing the lights on this. Now here I'm finishing up. You can see the lights that are made for each side. On the left-hand side, you can see the electric work's being done right now, and we had the plug. So there's a switch for the mantle and then another switch for the lights. And this is a shot of the Christmas decorations. We didn't realize at this point we had that problem, but it was lurking behind.
After we tore it down, we needed to fix it. So the two things we needed to accomplish were we needed to move the wood away from the brick and give it some room to breathe. So it's not touching right against the brick, and the moisture in the brick had some place to go. So that was number one. The number two thing was I wanted to protect the wood with some type of waterproofing. Put a waterproof between the wood and the brick as well. Just, you know, if it's off, the moisture's coming out of the brick, I didn't want it to just still, even through that little air gap, be able to get to the wood. So I wanted to add some waterproofing.
This is a diagram of the fireplace and looking down onto how it's built. You can see the exterior wall, and then the gray is the sheathing, studding, insulation, and the drywall. So you can see how the drywall then tucks in behind that brick face of the fireplace. So when we added the wood surround, you can see it was like this right up against the brick itself. And there was just nowhere for the moisture to go. So what we did was, after we took this off, the first thing we did to solve some of the problems was we added some rubber flashing around the end of the brick. And then we put the fireplace back on with some additional material to protect it. So let's look at that material in a little more detail. So here you can see the surround. We reduced the thickness of that side plane to give us that extra space. We lined the inside with some waterproof membrane, and then we add this vapor barrier mesh that's designed kind of like a rain wall behind a cedar shake, something like that. This is a rain screen material. It's got a moisture barrier here, and then on the back is this stiff grid that will allow a little bit of distance. This will go right up against the brick, and we'll have that way some room for the wood's not going to contact the brick directly, and there'll be room for any kind of moisture vapor to rise up through and not go directly into the wood. Additionally to this, I also got some of this, which is a material used for shower pans, and I thought this might also be good as a vapor barrier on the bottom half of the fireplace, because I don't want to add this to that, because I felt like this was going to be too close to the fireplace. I hadn't had any problems down there like I had in the upper half, so I felt like this would provide the right amount of vapor barrier for the bottom half of the fireplace.
So I didn't want to change anything, so I had to go ahead and make the inside larger. So first, needed to remove the sides and then make it about 3/8 of an inch thinner on the wood, so that I would gain about 3/4 of an inch on the inside from both sides, and I could then put it back with the outside still being the same size. So what I did was I tried to take the top off, or the first part off. It was rabbited into the front, so I gently took all of that sideboard off best I could. It was a long, drawn-out affair, but it did work. I used a pry bar a little bit. I used an X-Acto knife that I had kind of. Well, let me show you what I done. Okay, so I had this old X-Acto knife like this, and it had like a chisel piece on it. So what I did is I kind of sharpened it a little bit at the end, and then I would drive this in, but the joint, breaking the glue. And then once I got all the way down the side, which was very time consuming, then I was able to come in from the top and kind of pry it with just a flat pry bar. And it finally came loose. I had a couple places it chipped and was able to glue those back in, but for the most part, it went pretty well. So now I had this big open rabbet in the side that was kind of rough, and I was going to thin the board, so therefore it wasn't going to fit back in the rabbet correctly. So what I did was I cleaned up the rabbet. I actually went through with a rabbet plane and cleaned up that part through there, and then what I did was I glued another piece of cherry in the size of the rabbet, got that in there. So basically I had rebuilt the board so it was the same as it was before. And then I put a new rabbet into that board that matched the thickness of the board after I thinned it. I hope that makes sense. Got that all glued back up, and then I was able to account for the space that I needed.
So we got the sides glued back on, and you can see here in a minute, here's the new rabbet cut into that new board. So spread the glue, we'll get this all clamped on nice and square. And these little corner blocks, and then some other squares to keep this in line. Get it all clamped down, and then it's just a matter of doing this same thing to 3 more sides. I tried just planing the board, but that was really taking way too long. It was just not very efficient. Now reinstalled and ready for many Christmases to come.
I think that's it. Yep, that's it.